I finally did it. I finally made a map of every single Christian Universalist congregation I could find, and it's not all of them, but my hope is as this map grows more popular that I can find the remaining congregations that I don't know of yet, and I can put them on this map. So if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I often talk about that the best thing we can do to spread the victorious gospel is to start going to churches where we could preach the victorious gospel. And that's what I've been saying for a long time. And I've been trying to follow that by, for instance, I've spoken about this before. I want to eventually become a pastor and pastor a more moderate mainline Protestant congregation where I could be an open universalist without having to affirm some of the theological and the political liberalism I don't agree with. And that's kind of my eventual goal, and that's something I'm doing to help out. And of course, I just feel called by God to be a minister in the first place. The universalism is secondary. But, I've also been thinking a lot about what else can we do. And of course, I've been saying for a long time, join a local mainline Protestant church where you could be an open universalist. And I still stick by that, but I know there's a lot of congregations out there that do openly preach universalism. And I think if you live near one of those, you should probably at least try to go to one of those and then consider the mainline Protestant church, because why wouldn't you go to an officially Universalist congregation? So that's what I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'd eventually realized that the best thing I could do to spread the message of the victorious gospel and, to strengthen all these churches that already preach it is to make a map, because I've been digging for years, and I've been digging for many years to build this map. I have gone to every single website I can find that has a list of Christian Universalist churches. I have scoured through anything I could find, and I have compiled this list, and I hope and pray that there's even more out there, and there are even more out there. For instance, I don't have any latter-rain Pentecostal churches on here, and latter-rain Pentecostals are Universalists. I just haven't been able to find any of their congregations. But that's just one example. And I know there's a bunch of non-denominational Universalist churches I haven't found yet either. And a lot of Primitive Baptist Universalist churches I haven't found yet either, because they're very hard to distinguish and name from regular Baptist churches. And they don't keep in-depth records of which church is which. And it's hard to find stuff on Primitive Baptist Universalist. So I have been digging, and I've been digging for a long time. So I thought I would finally explain this website, which I just made this week, and I would explain what exactly is going on here. So this church, the website is called universalistchurches.carrd.co, and you can find it just by going to my channel page. So, if you're subscribed to Missionary Universalist, you can just go to my channel page here, and this blue link here, you just click on that, and that blue link will take you to this website here. And this is my website. I know you can't even see the full thing. It's just one page. I used Carrd's one-page free website builder, and you get what you pay for. It's just one page, and that's exactly what I needed, so I'm fine with that. And I actually really liked using Carrd. This is not a sponsorship, but if you're going to use a free website builder, I'd recommend this one. You don't get a big ugly ad like this is made with Wix, and you get to pick your own URL. So I would recommend using Carrd personally. But that's just through my journey through technology this week. But, back to the Universalism, this map has a few different sections. There's a few different types of churches on this map. So in blue is the churches that you're all here for, and those are the officially Christian Universalist churches. All these churches preach Christian Universalism. The only thing they have in common is that they are Christian Universalists. On other issues, they vary widely. Some are very progressive. Some are actually very conservative. Some are in the liberal Catholic tradition, so they practice Roman Catholic stuff, asking for the intercession of Mary, and some Roman Catholic rituals in their worship, but they're not a part of the Roman Catholic Church. They broke off in more recent times, and so that's some of them. So they vary widely on all sorts of stuff. Some are into the Unitarian Universalist Association still, and they're, these more Christian UU churches. They vary widely, and I don't a lot of these churches personally don't line up with my views on a lot of issues, but I included them because, I mean, I'm not going to exclude them. This is a church, this is a map for all Christian Universalists to use, and so that means there's all kinds of churches on this map. The second kind of church, and is another example of this is for all kinds of people, is the UU Christian Fellowship, and their website's down there at the bottom of the website, and you can click on that and go to their website to learn what they're about. But the UU Christian Fellowship is a fellowship of Unitarian Universalist Christians, even though we often think of the UU as the denomination for atheists. Interestingly, something I found is that roughly the number of atheists and the number of Christians in the UU is the same. Like, roughly 1 out of every 6 or 1 out of every 5 UUs are atheists, and roughly 1 out of every 6 or 1 out of every 5 UUs are Christian, or at least identify as Christian. I know that what is meant by Christian in Unitarian Universalist circles varies widely. But the UU Christian Fellowship is a Bible study of UU Christians, and some of them have Christian worship, like they'll sing hymns and do communion. And these are Bible studies that are part of larger UU churches, and I suppose congregation might be the right word for a UU institution, but these are part of UU congregations, and they're Christians that meet. They have Bible studies, as I said before. Some have Christian worship, like they'll sing hymns and take communion. And these are for Christians within the UU, and the UU Christian Fellowship is an organization of Christians within the Unitarian Universalist Association. And this is not for everyone. The UU is famously very liberal and very post-Christian. I understand this is not for everyone. What I had in mind, if you do intend to, visit and become a part of one of these Bible studies, is attending this Bible study like in the week, but going to like a mainline Protestant church on Sunday because of how liberal the UU is. But there were so many UU Christian fellowships, I knew I needed to put it on the map, even though I knew it wouldn't be for everyone, because the UU is, of course, very liberal and very post-Christian, so I understand if you don't want to, join that. But I said, inside the description itself, that I think it's at least worth a shot to attend a UU Christian fellowship. Like, it may not be what's right for you, but it's at least worth a shot. Personally, it's what I think of it. But finally, we have Orange. So Orange are friendly churches. These churches are not officially Christian Universalists. Most of these churches right now are Polish National Catholic Church, and the Polish National Catholic Church is an officially hopeful Universalist denomination. I'm praying that it does turn more officially Universalist in the future, but it's another one of those old Catholic breakoffs. It's not a part of the Roman Catholic Church, so it has like a bunch of Catholic practices, and the Polish National Catholic Church is a hopeful Christian Universalist denomination. So every Polish National Catholic Church is officially hopeful Universalist, and I think there are some Universalists within the denomination. It seems to be that because the denomination is clearly moving in a more Universalist direction, and I just knew that these would be a good place for any Christian Universalist to go to. Personally, if I did live near one, I would attend and join. I think it's a good denomination, even though I don't fully agree with it. And I agree with a lot of the liturgy, even though I'm not sure about some of the Roman Catholic practices they practice. But that's one thing. Most of the friendly churches are that. Most of the other friendly churches are mainline Protestant churches that are open to Universalism but aren't officially Universalist. And I'd figure that most of this, of the rest of the churches I'm going to put on this map are probably going to be friendly mainline Protestant churches. Finally, you have yellow churches. Yellow churches are just Universalist historical sites. So these are things that are important to the history of the Universalist Church. And for instance, one is Potter's Chapel, which is in Good Luck, New Jersey. And Potter's Chapel / Potter's Cemetery or Good Luck Cemetery is where, for starters, you have Potter's Memorial Chapel. So Thomas Potter is the man who built the chapel from 1760 to 1765. And this is not the original chapel, unfortunately. This is a recreation from the 19th century. well, not even a recreation, it's more of an homage, but it's a chapel created in the 19th century, and it's also where the grave of Thomas Potter is, so you can go visit that. And if you know anything about Thomas Potter, you know that he waited for 10 years for God to send a preacher to fill the meeting house to preach Universalism, because Potter was already a Universalist, and God sent John Murray. And if you know anything about John Murray, you know he is the father of Universalism in America, and John Murray goes there. Well, he's sent there by a ship. The ship gets stuck on a sandbar. Thomas Potter convinces John Murray to preach if the winds don't change by Sunday morning. John Murray does preach in the meeting house, and the rest is history. John Murray goes on to preach throughout America, and that happened on September 30th, 1770, which is the birthday of Universalism in America, when Murray first preached his sermon in the meeting house. And that's just one of them. Another Universalist historical site is Winchester Memorial Church, where the Winchester Profession of 1803 was signed. And technically, the church was built in 1912 because, like many churches of the day, it's not just because it was Universalist, it's because a lot of churches back then burned down. It burnt down, I forget exactly when, but they built the new church in 1912, and that building is still there today. Unfortunately, it is now a non-denominational church that preaches infernalism, unfortunately. But the church is still there, and it's still these giant plaques on the front of the door, of the which are the Winchester Profession. And I would like to go visit that church one day because it's very important for Universalist history, along with Potter's chapel. I want to visit all the places on the Universalist historical sites. There's a few other I put on there too, but I would recommend checking out the Universalist historical sites even if you don't live near them, because I put links and stuff like Universalist biographies and fun facts about Universalist history. I put those there to educate people about Universalism. So before I get to the map itself, I would like to tell you one other thing. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see my email, my new channel email, which I just made recently. And also, if you go to my channel page, you also can see my channel email. And my channel email is missionaryuniversalist@gmail.com. Please, if you know of any churches, just leave them in the comment of this video, actually, because that's actually, I'm going to get to those faster, but, preferably leave the churches into the comments of videos or posts. But I made this email just in case anyone wants to email me information about this church, about a church. And it can be a Universalist church. It can be a friendly church. It can even be something you think should be a Universalist historical site, and I'll look into it. But this is probably mostly for people that go to friendly churches or to Universalist churches. I figured those are going to be most of the emails I'll be getting. And, if you have any questions about the map or whatever, just email it to me, I guess. And my email is missionaryuniversalist@gmail.com. All lowercase. It's just my channel name plus @gmail.com. And, that's my new channel email. So, yeah. And finally, I get to the map itself. So the map itself is a Google Map thing, and it isn't fully complete because I was doing a practice earlier for this demonstration. I'll put it into its full glory, and boom. So how I just did what I did where I made churches appear is, if you go over here, you see this box here? Here. If I hit this arrow, they go away. If I hit this arrow, they come back. So, for instance, I think the major reason somebody might want to do this is they just want to look for Universalist churches. So, if they just want to look for a Universalist church, they can, get rid of all the other congregations on the map, and they can just hit this box. Boom. And now the map is all blue. And those are all officially Universalist churches. And I can put those back. You can put those back. So that's why they're broken into color. So you can tell the difference. And so you can hit the box and make them appear and disappear at will. And they're not just in America. Though it is a mostly American map, I also have some churches in Canada. And I also have some churches in the United Kingdom. And I have a few churches in Europe as a whole outside the United Kingdom and even a few in Asia, but it's mostly an American and British map. But there are a few churches elsewhere, and I'm hoping, of course, to become a more international map as time goes on too. And I'm trying to find as many congregations abroad as possible. It's actually kind of harder to find them outside of the English-speaking world for me. But, I'm trying my best to make this map work and to find as many churches as possible. Some of them I couldn't even, like a lot of the primitive Baptist Universalist churches are very hard to find. So, like, I'd look on the internet and it'd be like in this town, like I think it was like a Cherokee, West Virginia. There's apparently 2 primitive Baptist Universalist churches, but I couldn't find their addresses, so I just had to put a mark at Cherokee, West Virginia. Another church, for instance, I had a lot of trouble finding is Liberty Universalist, which is an historic Universalist church in Louisville, Mississippi. And I still actually couldn't find the church, so I actually had to put the address of the church because I was able to find that, but I couldn't find the church on a map. So there are some churches that if you live near them, you might yourself have to do a little bit of searching to find them. I've done the best I can. But some of these churches are hard to find. Some of these churches are off the off-beaten path, hard to find. And, it's been hard finding these churches, literal years of study. And even now, I know there's churches out there I still don't know where they are, and I'm looking for them. So that's, of course, why I'm hoping that as time goes on, people will tell me where they go to church. So finally, I would like to go back to John Murray. As people know, John Murray is my hero. If I were Catholic, he'd be my patron saint. And John Murray is my hero. And I've been really inspired by the mission of John Murray, because John Murray actually didn't intend to go create a separate denomination. John Murray, for about 4 years, from 1770 to 1774, would actually go into different churches all across America. So I'm talking everywhere from Maryland to New Hampshire. He would preach in 9 of the 13 colonies. He would also preach in England for a stint in 1787. But John Murray would preach, throughout all those different places, and he would plant Universalism everywhere he went. And John Murray would actually preach in the pulpits. So John Murray actually is a reformer. I consider John Murray to be one of the last of the Protestant reformers, because John Murray never sought to go create a denomination at first. He sought to reform Christianity from within. So early on, John Murray was preaching in Episcopal churches, Presbyterian churches, Baptist churches, and so on and so forth. And John Murray was trying to reform Christianity from within. And when everybody figured out John Murray was a Universalist because he would go around as a traveling preacher, then John Murray founded a non-denominational church at the time. It's called the Independent Christian Church of Gloucester, Massachusetts. And that was actually by a Bible study. It was like a Bible study of Christian Universalists that needed a pastor. And even then, John Murray did not actually go seek to create a denomination. Only in the 1780s, when John Murray saw, and it wasn't just John Murray. John Murray, though, was he's the guy who did the most. John Murray saw that there were all these different Universalists that had been kicked out of the different denominations for being Universalists, and then he decided to unite them. So I've been really inspired by the story of John Murray, because John Murray kept on fighting for reform. First, he fought for reform within the mainstream church of his time, and then when that didn't work, he ended up forming a separate denomination out of people that got kicked out of the churches. It wasn't people schisming off. It was people that were excommunicated out of their churches, which I believe makes the Universalist Church a justified denomination in its formation, because I believe voluntary schism is a sin denominationally. But that is a conversation for another time. John Murray is kind of my hero, and I think we should follow his example. Because John Murray didn't stop trying. He kept on fighting for reform. He kept on fighting for reformation. And this is why I've made this map, is for reformation. So people can either A, attend Universalist churches, or B, attend churches that are friendly to it and work for reform. So that's why I've made this map, and that's what this channel is all about, because I've heard a lot of people say that we're entering into a new Reformation or a new Great Awakening. And I'm saying that, if that's going to happen, and that's going to include the Christian Universalists, we've got to work within the church we can't give up and abandon the church. We've got to reform the church like John Murray did in his own time. We've got to fight for reform. Of course, read the autobiography of John Murray. That's what I've always tried to get people to do. It's my favorite book about universalism outside the Bible. Read John Murray's autobiography. It's a masterpiece. It's a beautiful book, and he's a great man. But outside of that, check out this map. I hope you enjoy it. God bless, and Christ will conquer.